Okay, I think that means we're ready to go. So welcome everybody, good afternoon. My name's Evan Fuchs. I know most of you. If I haven't met you, it's nice to see you. I'm glad you're all here. We're gonna be together for a little under an hour probably. And the goal for today is to help everybody become familiar enough with this platform, Zoom, that we're using right now, so that you're able to effectively participate and even host Zoom meetings for the purpose of video conferencing. Up until a few weeks ago, video conferencing was it was a thing, but now it's the thing, right? Since we're all isolated or staying at home or practicing social distancing and all that fun stuff. This has emerged really quickly as a great substitute for the face-to-face meetings. That applies to if you're in realtor leadership, board meetings and committee meetings, with your clients, with your teams, with your friends. It can be anything from, tonight I'm having a family dinner with our family and another family and their kids, and we're going to do game night on Zoom. I've been doing Facebook Live phone calls, having coffee, running meetings, teaching people how to use it. It's really accessible, and there's a ton of uses. So whatever works for you, it should really be able to help you right now while we're trying to figure out, adjust to, to whatever normal is today. Tomorrow, that'll probably be something different. So just as we get started, I want to ask you to be a little bit patient with me and everybody else, because the goal here is to help one another. And I think I have what you all need to get up and running by the next 45 minutes. I may not be perfect doing it, but I think we'll all be better at using this in just a bit. So first thing is, all of you obviously were able to receive the invitation or the registration, click on some links, and one way or another make it into the meeting. That does not require a Zoom account to attend a meeting. You may be attending by the desktop app, either on a Mac or a PC. That's what probably most of you are doing. You can also connect with a phone, like so. You can connect with a tablet. If you're using a phone, you want to make sure that you have hold your phone in landscape, like horizontally instead of vertical. If you do vertical, it'll give you, your video will be like a narrow strip in the center of the screen. If you do it this way, that'll give you the wider video. The controls on the phone and tablet are a little bit different than what we're going to talk about today, but not much. The main difference is sometimes you have to tap the screen to get the controls to appear, and some of the controls might be under a little hamburger button, the dot, dot, dot. Y'all know what I'm talking about when you have the 3 dots. So sometimes it'll say more, or it'll have the dot, dot, dot. You can tap on that, and that'll show you controls that you might be looking for that aren't visible. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is just walk through some basic controls, talking about getting an account set up, why you would want an account, and then we're going to just go through controls and features of the program and then take questions at any time. So right now we have you all muted. If you want to ask a question, just unmute yourself. You can wave at the screen, hit the bottom left button, hit mute. Or unmute if you want your audio to come in. You can also raise your hand using the Zoom raise hand function, which I'll show you in a minute if you don't know how to do that. So one way or another, get a hold of me and I'll stop and answer your questions, but you're on mute right now just to kind of keep the feedback and all that down. Okay, so the first thing I'm doing here is I'm going to share, I'm using the screen share feature to bring up a PowerPoint that has a few slides in it that I want you to see. So my first question is, are you all now looking at a slide that has like 3 icons on it: join audio, share screen, and invite others? Are you all seeing that? Just kind of nod for me if you are. Okay, great. What you're looking at here is a screenshot of a Zoom, of the Zoom software itself. And I shared that with you The way that you're using that, being able to see that, is I have my slide deck up on my screen. I hit the share screen button at the bottom, the green arrow, the green button with the arrow at the middle of the bottom screen, and it popped up a window asking me which app or screen I wanted to share, and so I'm sharing that with you, and that's how you're able to see it. So more on that in a moment. But what I want to point out first is going from left to right across the bottom here. On the far left, you'll see a microphone and a camera. If they have red lines through them, that means that you're not currently sharing those things. So if the microphone has a red line through it, you're on mute. If you want to unmute, you would hit, it'll say unmute, you hit the button, and you know, Lord willing and the creek don't rise, that red line will go away, and now it'll say mute, and it'll show you that you're sharing your audio. Same thing with the video. If it's got a line through it, you're not sharing your video, and you click it to start the video. If you'll see next to the microphone where I highlighted this little up arrow, if you click on that, the up arrow, you'll see there's some choices that pop up there, the little pop-up menu. That will allow you to choose between different microphones. If you have like an external microphone connected versus the internal microphone, it'll let you choose between different speakers, and then it gives you access to audio settings, which is a little bit more detailed. We're not going to look at that right now. But I do want you to see the switch to phone audio. If you're ever calling in over internet audio and you're having trouble, you can keep your video going, and you can pop up here and click switch to phone audio, and it will give you a phone number to call in. When you call that phone number, you'll enter the meeting ID and the participant ID, and it will associate your phone call with your Zoom that you're on right now, and it'll know that you're the one talking. So you can use that for dial-in audio if you have troubles with the internet audio. Next thing I wanted to show you is the Manage Participants button. That's or yours might say Participants. Sometimes it says Participants, sometimes it says Manage Participants. If you click on that, you're going to get a pop-up. It may be in the middle of your screen, like I'm showing you here, or it may be off to the right-hand side. If it's off to the right-hand, hang on just one second. Let's see, Maura said her screen got reduced in size too small. Are you guys looking at an itty-bitty screen? Or is it full size? Full size, okay. Ty, thank you for the feedback. Keep it up, you're helping me out, okay? Yeah, I'm not sure, Maura. I'm not sure why you got a itty-bitty screen. We can try to catch up with that a little bit later on. But this participants pop-up, it might have a light background, it might have a dark background, it might be off to the side or in the middle, but once you hit that button, it'll pop up, and this shows you everybody who's on the call. Now, the one we're looking at here is a screenshot, so it's not an actual one, but if you click on yours, you'll see the list of everybody on the call. Now, on that screen, I want you to see on the bottom, there's a row of buttons. From left to right, raise hand, yes, no, go slower, go faster, and more. All I want you to look at for right now is that raise hand button. If you click on the raise hand button, you'll see that in the list of participants, next to your name, it'll show a little blue hand showing that you've raised your hand. Now what that does, and I'm gonna, Dan, I'm gonna let you kind of manage that because I'm on my screen share, but as the host, if you're running a meeting and you you want to monitor that, and if somebody raises their hand, you'll get a notification, and you can look on that list and see who has their hand raised. So you might, you could use that for asking questions, or if I were to say something like, raise your hand if you see me, everybody could click that button. There's also a yes/no if you wanted to ask a yes/no question, but that's just an easy way of giving feedback. If you have 3 people on the screen, it's real easy to just have a conversation, everybody's unmuted and you're just talking. If you have 200 or 300 people, it's a lot harder to manage. But both as a participant and as the host, that screen will give you some information on the people that are participating, including if they're sharing their audio and their video. So just be aware of what that screen does, and then to make it go away, you can just hit Manage Participant again, or you can click the little red X on that on the window itself. And remember, stop me if you have any questions. I'm just going to keep cruising along. The next thing I want you to see is this is a screenshot that I took the other night when I was just practicing with my daughter. So you could see you're all participants right now. The view is a little bit different when you're the host. So if you look off to the right of this screenshot, you'll see here, when you came into the meeting, you were first sent into a waiting room. We were able to see on the right-hand side of our screen, Dan and I, because we're both hosts, the list of participants and who was in the waiting room. And that gave me the option, or gave the host the option of letting people in as we wanted. That's a good way, like if you're starting a meeting, if you have a couple people and that are kind of running it and you want to powwow with them first before you let everybody into the waiting room, you might use it for that. So that's an optional feature, using a waiting room once you schedule a meeting, which we'll look at again in a minute. All right, and also Dan, let me know if anybody has any questions that I'm missing, okay? Just holler out for me. I know you're on mute right now, thanks. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, the next thing I want you to see, to the right of the share, it's about the middle of the screen is the share button with the green up arrow. Skip that for now. To the right, you'll see chat. If you click on the chat button, it will bring up the chat window, like so. Again, it might be a different color, but it's the same deal. You'll see that the way it's set up right now on mine is when I hit chat, if I type a message in, I'm going to be sending that message to everyone, like this. Okay, so I just, in chat, I sent the message to everyone, everybody gets it. When you bring up that chat window, you can also send a chat specific to individuals privately. Let's see, Maura says she's not getting anything on the screen now. Ty, how am I doing? Are you seeing the screen? Yeah, Maura, I'm sorry, I'm not sure what's happening with yours. If you want to just hang out on audio, I'll get with you after we're done and figure out how I can help you. But on that chat screen, if you click where it says everyone, you'll get a little pop-up or pop-down that has the list of individual participants, and you can send a direct message to somebody privately. So that's the chat screen. And we're going to come back into the controls in a minute, but for now I want to kind of jump out and show you setting up an account if you haven't already. So the first thing is a Zoom account is not required to participate. If you want to host a meeting, you're going to need a Zoom account, and you can set one up for free. So it's really, the barrier to entry is so low. It's easy to get into, it's easy to use, and they have a free account that for a lot of us, that's all we're going to need. In order to set up an account, the easiest way to do it is if you go to zoom.us. Don't do it now, I'm just going to show it to you. On their website, you're going to look for either right in the middle, it'll say sign up here for free, and you put in your email address and it'll shoot you an email to get you started. Or up on the top towards the right where it says sign up, it's free, depending on what screen loads and how much time has passed. Just look for that. The sign up is real easy. You put in your email address, they send you an email to verify that that's really your email address, and then that'll give you the link to download and install and set up an account. Now the main thing, once you get your account set up, is choosing, or if you want a paid plan or not. Part of the sign-up process will give you the chance to test your microphone and that sort of thing, but I'm going to show you how you can also do that manually at any time. I just wanted you to see that that's part of the sign-up as well. It'll come up and it'll tell you, test your computer audio. It'll play a sample ringtone, and if you hear it, you say yes, your audio's working. You probably went through this to get ready for today's meeting. You'll test your mic by speaking, and it'll ask you if you're hearing it come back through the speakers, and then it'll tell you you're good to go. In this platform where we are right now, I already went through this in the beginning, but just to recap real quickly, you want to make sure that you have your video up and running and that you ask anybody who's participating to have their video going. Number one, right now, the connection of being able to see each other while we talk. First of all, it's healthy. It's a lot more productive to have conversations right now when we're not getting to see each other face to face. And if you've ever been on like a video conference meeting where there's that guy who doesn't turn on his video for whatever reason, they're kind of like not really participating as much. They may be paying attention, but it's just kind of a second class experience, you know, because you're not seeing them. So I would really recommend encouraging or even requiring, like in the case of committee meetings, that everybody have their video on so everybody can be fully engaged. All right, so the different plans for Zoom, the free, and I put a screenshot up here. The free plan lets you have up to 100 participants. The only real catch on it is if you have more than one other participant, you and one other person, as soon as you bring in that third person, it puts a 40-minute limit on the length of the meeting. For a lot of our purposes, that's just fine. So if you just want basic, you don't want to have more than 100 people on a call, and your meetings are going to be 5, 10, 30 minutes, under 40 minutes, you're probably just fine with the free account. When I stepped up originally from free to paid was when, my meetings or classes were running over 40 minutes. And then that kicked in to get you up to, I think it's a 24-hour time limit, I want to say you can have. So just take a look at those plans on their site and see if you need the paid plan. But for most of you, you probably don't. And again, you don't need any plan to participate, although it's good to sign up and have your name in there. You can put your picture and do some other basics. So I'm going to show you that, how to do that now. As I'm switching over here, I just want to pause real quick and see if anybody has any questions. Wait, shout out, wave a flag, raise your hand. Anybody have any questions? Okay, I take that to mean that you're all 100% satisfied with my performance so far, and I'm doing a great job. So thank you for that. Okay, now, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to the Zoom website real quick to show you just a few of the settings once you have an account set up, how to get to the settings and some things that you might want to change out of the gate. There are tons of settings available. You don't need to see them all. I just want you to see the settings screen and show you some of the ones that I think are important. So what I'm doing now is I'm using the share screen button at the bottom, and from the pop-up that comes up for choices, I'm going to choose my web browser, which happens to be Safari. And so now you should all be looking at my web browser at a web page that says, "In this together," or now just switch to "How to adapt to remote working." Are y'all seeing that page? All right, very good. So what happens here is I'm going to go to another screen where I already logged in right here. If you go to, once you log in, oops, I got to move a few things around. Let me go back here to the main page. Sorry about that. I'm logged in now. I've entered my username and password, and then up here in the top right, it says My Account. Y'all see that? Okay, when I click on My Account, it takes me to my profile page and a bunch of settings. So just a couple things I want to point out on your profile page. When you first set up an account, you're not going to have a picture here. It's going to be an icon, and it asks you to upload a picture. That's the first thing you want to do. The picture will represent you in several different places. If you're not sharing video for some reason, it'll have the picture up. So let's say you're using Zoom to meet with some clients and your video hasn't started. And then depending on your settings, they might join the meeting before you, or you're not sharing your video. It's going to be helpful that they see the picture and see who you are, and just a little bit friendlier and more customized. So once you log in and go to your account settings, make sure you upload a picture. The other thing I want you to check is I'm going to skip this personal meeting ID. You don't need to know that or use that. So I'm going to skip that. But I want to call your attention to the date and time setting here. You want to make sure, since we're super special in Arizona and we have our very own time zone, make sure that that is set to Arizona. That's important because that's going to automatically adjust time settings for you. So you want to make sure that it's appropriately set to Arizona. Everything else on this screen is not anything that you need to to worry about to get going out of the gate, but I want you to go to your profile, add your picture, and check your time zone. The next thing I want to do is show you over here, whoops, on the left-hand side. See, we were just at the profile section. We're going to skip meetings, webinars, and recordings and go to the settings screen. And when I say we, I'm just, I'm not asking you to follow along. I just want to show you what's here. But take a look. Once I click on settings over here, look at how many settings are available for this. I'm still going. There's a lot of settings here, and I don't want you to get like overwhelmed with those. There's just a couple things I want to show you. Within the settings screen, you've got these 3 tabs: meeting, recording, and telephone. We're not going to look at these other 2 tabs right now. Recording is available. You can record a meeting depending on your plan. If it's a free plan, you can save the recording to your hard drive. If it's a paid plan, you can have it hosted online. All I want to say about recording is, like Dan did, if you're going to record, it's going to pop up and say that you're recording. Before you do that, let the people know whether you're recording or not, so, you know, just out of courtesy. But we're not going to cover anything about recording today. What I do want to show you is this meeting section. So we've logged in, we've gone to account settings, and then over here on the left, we've clicked on settings. And now we're looking at this section within settings for meeting. This allows you to set defaults for how Zoom behaves and how your meetings are set up by default. Now, I'm not going to go through all of them with you. I just want you to see what's there. The first section is scheduling a meeting. So for example, this option here, join before host. I have that unchecked. If I were to check that box, like I just did, when I schedule a meeting, by default, that meeting will allow anybody who attends the meeting to join before I'm there. I have it set by default to off because by default, I want to be the one starting the meeting. I can override that when I set up a meeting, but here is where I set up the default for that. There's all kinds of security settings here. The ones that I would ask you to look at is anything that has to do with a password. If you're wanting a meeting to be secure, you want it to have a password, but if it makes it a little bit more complicated because now in addition to giving people a link, you have to also give them a password, which means you have to find the password. And so if it's not anything that you're too concerned about, you might want to turn those password settings off by default, and this is where you would do that. A few other settings to look at. This one here, mute participants upon entry. That's setting the default so that when you schedule a meeting, when people join, their audio is already off. Now we set this one up that way for audio to be off by default because we had a bunch of people coming in, and you know, sometimes people have more than one microphone going and you start hearing this horrible feedback and everything. So you might want to decide as you go whether to do that. In smaller meetings, I like to have that audio off so it's more like an actual conversation. But this is just setting the default. You can override that when you schedule a meeting, which I'm going to show you in just a second. So let's see, in the chat, Mary says, when I allowed them to join the meeting first, it gave them a message that I was already in another meeting as the host. I'm not sure what happened there. I know I'm doing a lot of these meetings right now, and sometimes I'll have one going when I try to join another one. And so Mary's saying that she had to cancel it. I'm not sure what happened there, but if you get a message like that, just take a look and see if you're already in the meeting, would be what I would say. And maybe I'm misunderstanding. So moving right along, back to the settings screen. Remember, these are to set up the defaults for a scheduled meeting, which you can override when you schedule a meeting. So I'm not going to go through any more of these. I just want you to see that they're here, and there's quite a few of them. So you just want to get familiar with these settings once you set up an account. Now I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we're back into Zoom. So who's got questions right now? Anybody have any questions? I don't see anybody. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is you're not able to see my screen. My screen looks very similar to yours, so I'm just going to verbally sort of point out a few things for you to see. The first one being, if you're looking at your screen, right now you might either see a whole bunch of tiles with videos, with different video feeds on it, or you might see a single person speaking with little tiles above it. I'm going to come to you, Mary, in just one second. If you look up towards the top right of the screen, you'll see a button that either says speaker view or gallery view, or it might have a little like, kind of looks like a waffle, a little button there. You can toggle back and forth. When you're on speaker view, that's going to show you, right now, if you're on speaker view, you're going to see Dan, because Dan's video is he's on the spotlight video right now. So I can change it and give myself the spotlight. And so if you're looking at speaker view, you're going to see me. You can also, there are settings that you can change that to where it automatically goes to the person who's talking. But when I change your screen and you're suddenly looking at me, if you want to go back and see the grid with a bunch of people on it, just click that button in the top right to gallery view. And that'll bring, like, depending on your system, right now I'm looking at 25 people. So y'all see that screen and how you can toggle back and forth? All right. There's also a full screen button to the right of that. Full screen can be a little bit confusing. When you go into full screen, it might hide some of the controls. So if you're looking at your computer going like, where are my buttons? Or I don't see what he's talking about, you might be in full screen and need to exit out of full screen in order to see the different controls. Okay, so Mary's question was, can you change your default name, like your name, to include your city? So let me find you, Mary. Right now, yours says Mary Roberts, Lake Havasu City. Actually, as the presenter or the host, you can change the person's name. So sometimes you'll see somebody log in and it'll say like Android 7 or some other weird name that isn't their name because they haven't set it up in their settings. And the host can change that. So right now, if I go to Mary's screen and I rename her to Mary Roberts whoops. There we go. Now I've appropriately renamed Mary so that you should all see that now her name is Mary Roberts, is Evan's #1 fan. So as the host of the stop that, Mary. If you're as the host, when you bring people in, if they're not named appropriately, meaning they might have a system name or something weird, you can even, if they don't know how to do it, you can rename them so that everybody, when they look at their video, they know who they're talking to. The way that you do that is hover your mouse above the person's video and click again the hamburger button, but this one's sideways, ... horizontally. If you hover right now over somebody's video and click on that, you'll see there's a little drop-down screen that allows you to chat. If you're the presenter, you'll have a bunch of other options there. One of them will be to rename the person. Another one is spotlight video. So as the presenter, I can hit that button and spotlight Mary's video, and now Mary is in the spotlight, and you'll see probably a row of video above her. And there's a little arrow on the right where you can scroll through to see the different participants' videos. Or you can click that little waffle guy to go back to gallery view and make it so you're seeing a bunch of people at the same time. If you're participating in a meeting and the view changes and you're like, what the heck, that's not what I wanted, you can override it that way. Okay, how are we doing so far? We're gonna do a little test here. So earlier I showed you that you could, hey, thank you, Ty. Thanks for the thumbs up, buddy. I showed you earlier that you can raise your hand or do a yes, no by clicking on Manage Participants. So right now, if we're doing okay, I'm gonna ask you to give me, check the button that says yes under Manage Participants, the green button with the check mark. Hit your Manage Participants button and click the yes, or I'm sorry, it might say Participants. You can click that button, and then under that row of choices, I want you to choose Yes, and we're not getting that, so we're not seeing that. You guys aren't seeing those buttons available? Okay, so let me see here. I think what I need to do then, I got a raised hand. That might have been a setting when Dan set up the meeting that was not there. Let's see. Bear with me for just a second. Yeah, so when you click on participants, you're getting a list, you're all seeing a list of everybody in the meeting, right? But you're not seeing the yes, no? Okay. Then I think that might be something we had set up differently, so I'll have to check that out and see what happens. How about, do you see a button that says reactions at the bottom of the screen? All right, so click that reactions button, and if you're with me and you're able to find that, give me a thumbs up or applaud, either way. All right, very good. I'm seeing a bunch of thumbs up. The screen is still on Mary. Okay, sorry, bye Mary. There we go. All right, so we'll come back to me. All right, so we're going to move on. I'm not sure why we don't have that the yes no available. I think that might be a setting when the meeting was set up. I didn't set it up, so I'm not positive on that. Or it could be that we're set up as a webinar. So we'll come back to that. Next thing, the share screen button. I mentioned this a couple of times, but I just want to point it out more explicitly. Y'all see in the bottom row a button that says share screen, and it has an arrow pointing up with green around it. Okay, go ahead and click on that. And then you're going to see a pop-up that has a bunch of windows. Those, depending on what system you're on and what you have open in the background, that should list the different applications that you have open and your different screens that are available. So for example, we may have that set up so that you can't actually share it. If you click on that, and I apologize, I don't know, I didn't set up the meeting, so I'm not sure what got disabled here. Disabled by host. So let me go, Ty, I'm going to unmute you. When you click share screen, what are you seeing?
It's disabled so that, because if I shared my screen, then it'd kick your screen off. So
right, but when you click the button, nothing happens. It just says disabled.
Yeah, right now it is.
Okay, that's fair.
I think only hosts and co-hosts can actually share screens.
All right, so when you click that button, if it's not disabled, like when you're the host, you're going to have that ability. It's going to pop up a screen that it's going to have a bunch of tiles, and each tile represents an application that's running on your computer. So if you want to, let's say you've got a PDF document. We're meeting with clients, and you want to go over a contract with them. You can have that contract PDF open on your computer, and then when you go to share screen, you're going to just look for the tile that has your PDF program in it and click that, and then suddenly that document is going to be shared on the screen for everybody to see it. You can scroll through it. You can use it just like you would in that application, but now other people are seeing it. So far, I've shared my web browser. I've shared my PowerPoint presentation. You can even share, you can connect your phone and share the screen on your phone even. So there's a lot of cool features there to use under the share screen. If you don't disable that for attendees, you could also use this to have somebody else share something on their screen in a meeting, or maybe you needed to help them with something. You're doing, you're trying to walk a client through DocuSign or eSign or one of those kind of programs. They could share their screen and you could help them with it. So there's a lot of uses for that, and there's not a lot of technology involved to make it work. You just go to share screen. Melissa mentioned that the iPhone app is quite different. As I mentioned in the beginning, one of the things you'll see if you're doing it on a phone, okay, so if you're doing it on a phone, obviously we have a lot less real estate to work with, and it's going to start in this up and down, a portrait vertical format. once you connect to a meeting, it'll have a couple of basic features on there, but there's either a button that says more or dot has the hamburger, depending on if you're using Android or what app you're using. If you're looking for a feature that's not on the screen, tap on that more button or that dot, 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 and you'll get some other commands are available there. And you'll also see things like to change the view, it might show you originally just one other person, their video. And if you tap on their video, that'll switch views. So maybe it makes them bigger. So you just have to explore that a little bit. One thing you can do that makes this, I think, real easy to figure this stuff out is get on the computer and start a meeting, and then get out your tablet or your phone and join that same meeting from another device. Okay, so I'm going to show you now how you set up a meeting and how you do that. But that's a good way to see what's different on the two different platforms. And if you want to test your screen sharing, you can share it from your computer and then look at it on your phone. So as long as you are not logged into an account on your phone, you can just join it as a guest, and you can have those two connections going at the same time. Questions about the I'm going to go back out and show you how to set up a meeting. Any questions about how it works, how you do anything within Zoom as far as talking, video, participating? Any questions on any of that? So I feel like there's got to be people with questions. So I just want to give you one more chance. If you have a question, if you feel like you haven't mastered, fantastic. But if you have a question, this is the time to ask. All right, Maura, let me unmute you. All right, what's up?
Okay, so what you just described there about testing your another device, you said as long as you weren't logged in on the second device. So does that mean you don't need an app to join a meeting? This concept of you don't need an account versus the app is...
Okay, yeah, thanks. Let me clarify that. So remember, you don't need an account at all to participate. So you've got a client on the other side of the country. They're not tech savvy. They're the kind of people that like want to fax you or snail mail you something instead of e-sign, right?
Yes.
As long as they have email, you can create a meeting and email them to participate in the meeting. They're going to get a link in that email, and all they have to do is click on the link.
Okay.
Once they click on it, it's going to take them through how they connect. It's automatically going to launch a web browser. The web browser is going to say, if you have Zoom installed, it's going to want to launch Zoom. If not, it's going to tell you to download Zoom.
So
like you literally don't have to know anything to do that part, okay?
But you do
and
need
at
the
that
app.
point, wait, hang on. You got muted again.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead. Yeah, Maura, what were you saying?
So you're saying you need the app, but that's independent from an account.
That's correct. You need the app. One way, well, yes, you need the app. The account, you don't have to have an account, okay? Accounts are free, so if you decide to get an account, it doesn't cost you anything. If you do have an account and you're logged in on your computer through the app on the computer, then it's going to keep you logged in and remember who you are. On the phone, if you try to launch one of those, click on one of those links from your phone, it's going to redirect you to the app store and have you download the app. If you log in from the app, then it's going to remember as well. So my suggestion for testing some of this stuff out is if you get logged in on your desktop, just don't log in on your phone, and now you have a guest, you can log in also on your phone to test that if you care about using your phone. If not, then just don't worry about that part at all. The nice thing about using your phone is, you can connect from anywhere. The video works a lot better if you have a Wi-Fi connection, but it will work on a, data charges apply, but it will work on a cellular connection as well. But if you don't have a good connection, that can create problems, okay? Any other questions? Let me see here. Okay, Diane. If you would, you're muted, Diane, so just on the bottom left of your screen, click on unmute. Oh, maybe you can't do it. Let me unmute you. Hang on. Okay. Wait. Stop. Hang on. Dan, let me do it, okay? Everybody just kind of stop for a second. There we go. Diane, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So if I have joined meetings, and that's fine. So I downloaded the app or whatever on my computer, my iPad. But now I'm in the process of setting up hosting a meeting. So will either hosting or joining be in the same app on my devices if I've already set Zoom up in my computer and my iPad?
Yeah, I'm going to show you. I'll show you that right now.
Okay.
Okay. So within the app, you can set up a meeting directly from there. Let me check something real quick and see if I have a screenshot of that.
Yeah, I'm still looking at myself on this screen.
Just one
not
second.
you.
Okay, what I'm going to do is we're going to go back to the website, and I'm going to show you on there. Whoops.
Oh, what the hell?
Hang on, bear with me for just a second.
Okay.
Okay, are y'all seeing the homepage of Zoom right now? Okay, very good. All right, so because I'm logged in, up here it says host a meeting.
Where are you? Upper what?
On the, oh wait. See on the top right where it says host a meeting?
I've got a gallery of our pictures on the top right.
You have a gallery of pictures. Okay, hang on one second. Let me, Ty, where are you at? Are you seeing the web page, Ty? Okay, let me come out of here for just a second. All right, very good. So I'm not sure if maybe you hit a button, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to share that screen again, which is, so you're looking at my web browser, and you all should be looking at the website.
Right.
Okay. Now, if I go to host a meeting or go to my account, now you should recognize the screen from before, right, where it's showing my profile. See up here it says schedule a meeting.
Right.
Okay. So I'm going to click on that. And this is for setting up a meeting in advance. Right? If we were, let's say we were on the phone talking and I said, hey, let's move this over to video. I could just start a meeting right now without scheduling it. But this is the setup like we did to set up this meeting where we actually scheduled it and sent out an invitation and everything. So that's the schedule meeting feature. There's a schedule meeting feature in the app itself. So you'll see when you first launch Zoom, so after we get off this call, if you launch Zoom, right there in your face, it gives you the options to schedule a meeting, join a meeting, or start or host a meeting.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So this is the schedule meeting screen, and all you do here, we're doing it through the website. There's some more features that are available through the website, but you can do it in either place. We would give it a topic, today's meeting. You could give it a description if you wanted. I'm going to skip the template. You just schedule here what time you want the meeting to start. So let's say we were scheduled a meeting today at 3 o'clock. We expect the meeting to last an hour. So we would put a duration for an hour. It's not going that duration doesn't affect how long the meeting actually lasts. It's not going to shut off. It's just to let you know that it's expected to be an hour or whatever length you want. There's some other options which are kind of self-explanatory that I'll let you go through on your own. But that's all you do is you come here, put in the time when you want it, make these options if you want people to be able to join before you. You can see all of mine are off because of the way that I had set up those defaults earlier. But once that's done, once you set up the meeting and save it, and then it will take you to the screen where you can invite people by sending them the URL. So this is the link to the meeting. that I can send this in any way that I want. I can email it, I can text it. When somebody clicks on this, they will join that meeting that will become available at that time.
To send that link, you just copy and paste it, or do you have to go to a link thing or something?
Well, you can highlight it and copy it like I'm doing here.
Right.
Or you can come over to this side where it says copy the invitation, and it's going to pop up a little screen that has like a pre-written email that you could send. And you can click the button that says copy meeting invitation, and it will copy this whole thing. Evan's inviting you to a meeting. Here's the topic. Here's the time. Here's the link to join. Here's the ID. Here's how you can call in if you want to do dial in instead.
Okay.
So if you hit copy meeting invitation, that's going to put that on your clipboard, and you can go create an email, paste it in, and invite anybody that you want.
Okay. So that was on the right side of your screen?
Yeah, on here, the copy invitation link is on the right-hand side. The URL itself is on the left.
Right, I see the URL. I just can't see the copy link.
So let me recap that just real quick. What you do is open up Zoom and say you want to host or schedule a meeting. If somebody has invited you to a meeting and they didn't give you the link, but they just gave you a meeting ID, you open up Zoom and you say join a meeting, and then you type in the meeting ID that they gave you. It's, explaining it verbally and switching back and forth may even make it a little bit more complicated than it actually is. It's super, super simple to do. To make it simple for other people, provide them the link. All they have to do is click on it. It'll launch Zoom and send them into the meeting. If they don't have Zoom installed, it'll prompt them to download and install it. And that'll work on a computer, a tablet, or a phone.
Okay.
Okay.
So would you, if you were setting up a meeting, have their audio turned on and their video turned on in the settings that you set up? Because I noticed when you showed me that screen, theirs was off.
Yeah, there's a couple. That's a good segue into what I consider some best practices. When you create a meeting, you can set this as a default, and you can also choose it when you create a meeting. You can require people you can have their audio already muted when they come in. If you're doing a big meeting, it's kind of a good idea to do that.
Right.
Just let them know, because you're going to have people join in and they're going to be like, and you're not going to have any idea what they're saying, that they're not going to know yet that you can't hear them. So if they're muted, let them know in advance that they're going to be muted. And then as they come in, let them know. As the host, you have control. Like right now, I can hit a single button on my participant screen and mute everybody or unmute them. And, if you were really bad, I could send you right back to the waiting room right now. I have a bunch of extra controls here that you'll have as a presenter. My recommendation is this. If it's more than a handful of people, have them come in on mute and then let them know.
Okay.
If it's a small group, then don't mute them. It's no big deal.
So if it's a group of half a dozen friends, just
yeah.
Don't mute them. Just
video on. And this is what you want to do as the presenter. If you're attending, you have no control over the other people, right? So as the presenter, it's your job to those other people that if somebody has messed up audio, that you're on it and you're muting them, because they might unmute themselves or whatever, and there's all this feedback. That's your job as a good host, is to be in control of that. So what you might do is just hit mute all, and everybody is muted, and then you can go from there. On video, I set everybody's video on by default right now, because I want people who are new and getting accustomed to seeing their own bright and shiny faces to just get out there and do it. Some people will not want to show their video for whatever reason, and we have to kind of get over that for the sake of having more interactive meetings. But you can set yours up to be on or off by default, or the participants to be on or off by default. What you want to do, though, before you start your video, so now you're going to be hosting or joining a meeting, the first thing you want to do is look around you, all right, and see what everybody's going to see, right? So that you don't want any surprises there. You might have seen that video that went around of the lady that decided to take a bathroom break in the middle of her Zoom meeting and left the camera on, and it's her. Yeah, Ty says wear pants. That is solid advice. Just remember, when your video is on, it's on. So you want to see what people are going to see. If you go to the video button in Zoom to the right, the little pop-up arrow that I showed you before, if you go there and hit video settings, it will bring up a screen that shows you the video, shows you what people are seeing. So if you click on that right now, go down to the camera and to the right, click on that up arrow and click on video settings. You should see, if you're on the video tab on the left, you should be looking at yourself. You're seeing what we're all seeing.
I'm not sure where you're going to find that camera.
Yeah, on the bottom left where it says start or stop video,
Oh,
picture of a camera, click that up arrow and then click on video settings. Then you'll see that that's a way to test your video. That's what you know what other people are seeing, okay?
Okay.
While you're there, I'm not going to go through those different settings, but I do want you to see on the left-hand side, below video, a few steps down, it says virtual background.
Right.
And this is for everybody. If you click on virtual background, you'll see, like I'm going to transport you to San Francisco real quick here. And you'll see now, if you look at my screen, my background is of the Golden Gate Bridge because I chose that virtual background.
Got you.
Okay, so you want to see the Northern Lights? There you go. Or we can go to the beach.
There's a lot of
okay?
preset options in video background.
Yeah. So those virtual backgrounds, some people like that so you're not, people aren't seeing what's behind you. You can use that with or without a green screen. Just test it there and see how those settings work for you. Amanda has a nice virtual background that she was using the other day. I don't think she's using it now, from the parking lot of the PAAR building. So it looked like she was standing in front of the building. You can take a picture, upload any picture there, but that's another video option to be aware of. Okay, so getting back to virtual or best practices as we wrap up. When you're presenting, in addition to looking at what's behind you, close all the other windows that you're not planning on sharing. So you're going to open up Zoom. But if you're planning on sharing anything on your screen, it makes it a lot easier if you don't have 100 applications running in the background. So maybe close everything that you're not planning on sharing. It'll make it easier to find the thing you do want to share. If you're planning on sharing a desktop, your actual desktop, you might want to get rid of a bunch extra files. Just be aware once you share something, everybody can see it. So you're kind of doing a little bit of housekeeping beforehand. The other thing I wanted to mention under best practices is lighting. So as I look around the room, like, let's see, Marilyn, I'm going to pick on you for just a second. Your camera is kind of cut off, right? The way it's adjusted. Oh, there we go. Great. And you can see once you moved, the lighting actually changed too, and it's great. I can't see what's behind you, but your lighting is great, okay? The best way to control the lighting, if possible, is you want the lighting coming toward you from behind your camera. So if you have a laptop and you can set in front of an open window, that's fantastic. It may not be that portable. What I have in my office is, if I have my overhead lights on, it creates a giant shiny light from up ahead that bounces right off my head. And it's not pleasant for me or anybody else. So I have the overhead lights off, and I have lights on each side that are kind of pointing. I just played with the lights until now. I mean, it's not like professional quality, but it's not distracting. It's decent lighting. So you want to be careful that you don't get too washed out. Like Bill, yours is on the, you've got a light. That's a little bit better, but it's really bright on your face. So you're okay, but sometimes that can turn into like a washout where all you see, you can't even make out people's features. So get your lighting set up and use that video setting to just see what other people are going to see. How's your lighting? What you're trying to do is, we're not trying to be perfect. In fact, quite the opposite. We just want to take away any distractions that we can so that everybody's comfortable and we can get down to the business of, or pleasure of having a conversation and not worry too much about the tech stuff. Okay, we're on an hour right now, so I'm going to stop. At this point, you should have what you need to either participate or host a meeting. What I would encourage you to do is just buddy up with somebody, get set up and say, hey, can I invite you to my Zoom meeting, and just like try it and see how it goes. If you're feeling a little braver than that, get set up with a second device on your phone and you can test it yourself. If you're doing more than one device in a room, you're going to want to mute both of them or you're going to get some really weird cross feedback happening. So if you're anybody who wants to leave, that's kind of, I'm going to wrap it up here, but I'm going to turn it over to Amanda real quick so she can close it out. But then I'm going to hang out for anybody that needs any kind of help or any questions. I will hang around. But thank you all for being here. I hope that was helpful. Amanda, take it away.